Hi everyone. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation for you, so you're gonna have to look at this face for the next 10 minutes as I share with you my journey as a mom with a child with ADHD who has been on a journey of trying to find a way to manage it without using stimulant medication. And I haven't always been so willing to share my story because I've been lost and confused and unsure what I was doing. But now we are in a good place. And I want to get my story out to everyone because we have tried a lot of options and some things worked for other people that didn't work for us. And we have found a solution that's working for us, and I want you to know in case you are also looking. And also if you know someone else that is in a bad place and trying to figure out how to do this and manage this, then please share with them this video as well. And I'm sure they'll appreciate it and I'll appreciate it. So let's go ahead and get started. Have I said my name yet? I think I skipped that part. My name is Jessica, and I'm a mom of 3. And my oldest son is the one that has ADHD. And when he was in first grade, I started noticing that something was off. But he had a very militant teacher who they didn't really get along because my son is very sweet and sensitive and emotional, and she was strict. And it was not a great year. It was rough to say the least. But this was just the beginning of kind of realizing something was off. And it was in second grade. He now has a very sweet teacher, but things were worse. Like he was getting further behind in school and causing more interruptions, and he doesn't have any behavioral issues, but he was disturbing the class. Impulse control was an issue for him. And our school had a policy that the public school had a policy that no parents were allowed in the classroom. Can you believe that? Like, not allowed in the classroom. And all I wanted to do was get in the classroom to kind of see how he was behaving at school and why we were getting these reports that he was not doing well and why he was falling behind. And I wanted a very hands-on parent, and I wanted to do those same type of things at home. And I just needed to see what they were doing, and I couldn't get in the classroom. So I was blocked. I was blocked everywhere, and I didn't know how to advocate for what his rights were or my rights because nobody told me, because I wasn't really telling anybody about my problems, and the people I were telling didn't really know. So I was just like trying to push but get resistance, and I would just go back because, I don't want to cause problems. These are the people that have to see him every single day and are responsible for teaching him. And it was awful. It was awful. So he got even further behind. Then he goes, and he was put on a tier 1 for RTI, if you guys are familiar with that. And by third grade, he was put on a tier 3. So they were doing more intervention stuff. And they spent a whole year kind of pulling him out of the classroom every once in a while and doing some special time with him and evaluating him. And towards the end of his third grade years, this was 2 years ago. So the end of his third grade year, they came back with a synopsis of his problems, and they said he was a late bloomer. And I was like, nope, that's not his problem. I knew, and I'd always known that something was off with him. And I didn't have any support from anyone from the school. Nobody understood, and everyone was like, he's just a boy, or he's a late bloomer, or he's just, all these type of things. But I was like, I feel like there's something more. So when the school, after 3 years of these evaluations, and that was kind of what they came up with, I was like, okay, time to get him tested. So I took him to see a psychoeducational psychologist specialist, and she is absolutely amazing. So if anyone lives in the Atlanta area and wants to get their child tested for any type of learning disabilities or anything, I so highly recommend her. And just comment below, and I'll just message you her information. Love her. So he went through the testing process, and it was extremely expensive. But at the end of the day, he received a diagnosis of ADHD and dyslexia. And I know that a lot of people don't like labels, and they don't want to get their children tested because they don't like labels. But for me, receiving something that was like, this is what it is, now go do this to address that and tackle it, that was a moment of clarity for me. That was huge. Now I had a plan in place. So we had two components we had to tackle. One was the dyslexia. So I went back to his school, his public school, and I interviewed them. I was like, what services can you help now that we know what it is? And they basically just couldn't meet our needs. It wasn't what we wanted. So we put him in a private specialty school that 100% of the students were dyslexic. That is what they do, morning, day, night, science, all targeted, everything towards kids with dyslexia. So I felt great about that and still feel great about that. Amazing decision. He's still there. And now the problem was the ADHD part, because we knew we didn't want to medicate him. We knew we wanted him to be who he was, to not be a zombie or get so skinny or not sleep at night or all these other bad side effects that happen immediately from, not all medicated children, but some. We just didn't want that. And then on top of that, the long-term consequences that come from stimulants that are still unsure. And as far as dependencies and stuff like that and addiction. So we were going to try and avoid doing that. So we were talking with the psychologist, and she was like, hey, create list, get him off sugar, limit screen time, make sure he goes to bed early. Did I already say that? So we did all of these things. And we even had found a dietary supplement called Virin that we had put him on for several months, 3 months, and that was all during his first school year at the private school, and none of those were really working. Like he was not really making a lot of progress at the school that we had put him in. So at the beginning of his 5th grade year, which is this past year, at the beginning of the year, we had an intervention. Now, we didn't have the school intervened with us and was saying that he is being disruptive and that we need to take his ADHD component a little bit more serious. And at this point, I started being like, you know what, maybe we should just medicate him. Like, I kind of started giving in a little bit. My husband was like, no, we've gone this far, we're not going to do it. So there is this other dietary supplement called Accentrate, and it was not released to the market at the time. And we got a zillion samples of it, and basically just came in one huge bottle. Now it has this really cute packaging, which each individual bubble pack, and it was just a big bottle. And I set my alarm every single day for 7:55 a.m., summer, spring break, weekends, all the time. It would go off, he would take his pill, and I kind of just assumed it was going okay, because I wasn't really hearing much back. I mean, I didn't tell the school that I was putting him on this, but I would check in periodically with them. I'm like, are things going okay? And they'd be like, yeah, things are okay. Certain things that, that we were trying to target. And so things seemed to be okay. So I kind of checked out, I guess, a little bit and wasn't really paying attention to what was going on. And then at the end of the school year, which was, 2 months ago, I got the greatest gift. At his parent-teacher conference, we sat there. There was 4 teachers in the room, and we sat there, and for the first time, and he was in the room, first time in his life, he got a good report. He got a report where they said he was doing so much better, and his attention and his focus was so much better, and how sweet he was and how smart he was. And I just sat there for 45 minutes. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And I was so proud of him. I was so proud of how far he had come. And honestly, I was so proud of myself too, because this was the moment that I had been fighting for. And it was here, and it felt amazing, and I was so happy that I had stood strong, even in my moments of weaknesses, that somehow we managed to get to this point to where we got our first good parent-teacher conference. and it felt so amazing. And I have to be clear, though. I have to be clear that he is not cured. He is not cured. He very much is wild and impulsive and who he is. But he is on the right path of having his brain train itself versus taking a stimulant which just dumps chemicals into his brain. His brain is receiving the nutrition that it needs and is known that it was deficient and is deficient in. It's receiving that through this pill that he takes every single day. And I'm so grateful that we have found it. And I hope that, you know, if it's something that you want to try, that you try and be patient with it, because it is a dietary supplement and it takes time, but to trust that inside of it is the nutrition that your child's brain needs, and to just faithfully take it every single day. Don't miss it, and then to see what will happen. And I hope that you will get the same type of results and find the same type of happiness that I have found. So anyway, that's my story. Thanks for listening, everybody.